Hello, my name is Kathy Riley, and welcome to Breaking Bad Communication Podcast, where we're breaking bad habits and shattering communication barriers. Have you ever experienced an awkward silence and stumbled through conversations, never fully owning your worth? Has your message ever gotten completely lost in translation? Have you ever avoided a conversation because you knew it was going to get difficult? Well, you're not alone. And that's why we're here. I founded this podcast to share tools, techniques, talk with experts to master the art of communication. We're constantly communicating with others and with ourselves, and we have no idea what we're saying. So listen in, take some notes. You might learn something. This is going to be awesome. A question I get asked often about and train on, quite honestly, is how do you navigate a difficult conversation? And difficult conversations is such a big area to talk about, whether it's personally or professionally, emotionally. What does that look like? And I'm going to share with you some tools, just a few things that I can, right, in the short period that we're together to help you navigate your next difficult conversation. I'll probably train on this. I can guarantee you I'll talk about this again. But for now, I'm going to pour into you as much as I can. So, navigating a difficult conversation. The first thing you need to understand is, why do you think this is a difficult conversation? What is your self-feeling? Why are you hesitant? One, are you hesitant to have this conversation? Why are you feeling the angst, emotional about this? What makes it difficult for you? Is it a work thing? Are you getting ready to fire somebody? Are you breaking up with somebody? What is it that makes it difficult for you? And doing, quite honestly, an inventory of like, okay, just check in. Why am I feeling? What am I feeling? Is this a true feeling, or am I making it up? Because quite honestly, how often do we think we know that we know what that they know, that we know that they know, that we know that they know, right? Like, we come up with these situations and scenarios in our head about why somebody does what they're doing, why they say what they're saying, that impacts us and our relationship, our work, whatever. And we have this whole scenario in our head, and none of it's true. Or maybe 90% of it's not true. We don't know. So what do you truly know? What do you truly know? What is a fact? So checking in with yourself and your emotions to say, why am I feeling this way? Is it because I'm making this whole thing up in my head? Or are there facts to support what's going on? So just doing a really self-evaluation on why this conversation is difficult for you. And when it comes to things that you don't know and things that you are making up in your head, just let that go. Just let it go. Take a deep breath, inhale confidence, exhale the negativity, and have the conversation. Okay. It's amazing to me how often we are stuck in that drama because it lives in our head. So let's let that go. Okay, so that's the first step, is checking in on ourselves as to why this conversation is difficult in the first place. Checking in with our emotions, what's navigating, and then we can move forward. Okay, then we can truly move forward, because I'll be honest with you, if you're feeling this difficulty because it's a boundary that you set and they've crossed it, that's a whole other conversation, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But why are you truly feeling this way? Okay, so check in on that, do some self-evaluation, write it down. And then the second step is, quite honestly, is to have a game plan for your communication. What truly do you want to communicate? What is the message? What are the points that you want to cover? Write it down. Get clear on what you want to communicate. What's your goal? What's your top goal for this conversation? Right? Make sure that you're all on the same page at the end of the day. That's your goal. What's your message? So as you're curating this message, you're writing it down. These are the 3 points that I want to make. And now we start thinking about, how do I want to share these points? We're creating a plan, right? So you don't just wing it. We know this is difficult. Our emotions are triggered here for whatever reason. We've done an inventory. We know that they're triggered. Now we're moving forward. We're creating this plan. Okay. So what are the words that we can use to communicate what we want our message effectively? And when you're doing this, avoid blame. So you don't say you did and do, the pointing of the finger and things like that. You avoid that at all costs. You really want to focus on words like, when this happens, this is how I feel. Or be strategic with the words that you use. When you say you did this, I mean, you turn it out to be like a little kid again, right? And that puts us in a bad place. So we don't want to do that. We want to be thoughtful with the words. When this happens, this is how I feel, or this is how Susie feels, or this is what transpires. And be very selective in our words, to be very general and not accusatory and not negative. So pay attention to those words and shift into the positive as much as possible. Especially when you're talking, it's more relationship wise. And I have one of those practice marriages, happily married now for over 20 years. And what I've learned is saying things like, when this happens, this is how I feel. When this happens, right? Not when you forget to do this and when you don't do that. It's when this happens, this is how it impacts me. And I'm frustrated. I feel frustrated. So being selective in your words, paying attention to that. Now, when it comes to a boundary that you've set, first of all, did you share this boundary? Is it clear? Does the other person understand the boundary? If not, that's where in this message that you're curating here, you say things like, this is something that we need structure around this. The situation is such that it is very frustrating for me. So this is what needs to happen now, and create the structure. And if the boundary's already been set, it's reiterating the boundary. This is our expectations. This is what's supposed to happen. Things fell short. Let's talk about this. What can we do to improve this? How can we take the next step moving forward so that this no longer happens, that I'm no longer feeling frustrated, that we're both happy with the situation? I'm hoping this all makes sense. It's processing. I can feel your brains just processing this information. It really is paying attention to the words that you use to communicate. And I'll tell you what, write out what you want to say until you really know. Write it all out. Hit the top points, hit the words that you want to say. Make sure that they're in the positive, not the negative. Make sure that they're not accusatory, that they're very generalized, that when this situation, not because you caused the situation, which, you know what? You caused the situation. You did. But we don't say that. I don't say you caused the situation. I say that the situation happened and this is how we're going to move forward. So using, just shifting just ever so slightly with the words that you're using. So hopefully this is making sense for you guys. And then, so having it written out, understanding this is the game plan, this is what I'm going to say. And you know what? Bring the written material, bring it with you. It's okay. These are the talking points. People do it all the time. In relationships too. It is okay to write it out. And then the next step is to focus on the outcome. Truly, what at the end of the day, what is the outcome that you want to see happen? Personally or professionally? What do you want? Gain clarity. Get really, really crystal clear on the outcome you want. Are you in a situation at work where somebody needs to be let go? Okay. Are you in a relationship where you need to break up and move on? Or is this something that we need to just navigate and move forward? What really is the outcome? Because chances are, especially at work, well, and I'll say it's in marriage a lot of times too, we both want the same thing. We all want the same thing. We want to hit the goals at work. We want to hit our sales number. We want to hit our numbers. We want to hit our strategies. We want to hit our goals. In marriage, we want each other to be happy. We want to be happy. We want each other to be happy. At the end of the day, we want the same thing. Do we? Take a look at that. Gain clarity on that. What's the outcome that you want? And then maybe you need to shift your message to make sure that your message is clear and leads to the outcome. And then end the meeting or the talk and the conversation with the fact that we want the same thing. If that's true. So we want the same thing. I want you to be happy. You want me to be happy. We want to hit this goal. We want a team that works cohesively. We want to be fulfilled. We want to succeed. We want fill in the blank, right? So knowing that, okay, that at the end of the day, you're like, check in with yourself. What are the emotions that are triggering you to make this conversation difficult in the first place? Okay, what is it? 2, curate a message. Write it out if you have to. What are the points to this message? What is your goal? Focusing on the positive, not the negative. Don't be accusatory. Give a compliment if you can, right? Set the boundaries if you need to set boundaries. Reiterate other conversations to move forward. And then really talk about the outcome, right? Focus on the outcome. Because keep in mind of different perspectives. So this is something that I do in training, and it opens a lot of eyes. So I will have 2 victims or volunteers, however they looked at, come to the front of the room and stand next to me, which is always funny because I'm like 5 foot nothing and people tower over me. So I end up having this piece of paper and I share that when I flip it over, I want you to shout out what you see. And so just, I usually say outside voice. This is kind of like a game. We're going to have fun. Like, instead of like Family Feud, you don't have to hit the buzzer, right? There's no smacking the buzzer. We're just going to just shout it out, shout out what you see. And it's usually everybody's like, all right, they're fired up. They're ready to go. And then I flip the card over. And here's what the card is, just so you know. The card is a number 6 or a number 9. It depends on which angle you're at. And of course, I've got one on my right and one on my left who are looking at it. So one shouts 6 and one shouts 9. And they're all excited, right? And everybody's like, and I show it to the crowd and I show people it and I flip it around so that everyone sees that based on your perspective, the answer is different. It's different, but each individual is also right. So my point in this exercise and sharing the story with you is we can look at the same thing and have a different perspective as to what we're looking at. We can look at the same problem or issue and have a different solution as to how to get to the other side. So honoring other people's perspectives and knowing that if we are on the same page with the outcome, we can navigate other people's perspectives to get to where we all want to be. That's powerful. That is powerful, my friends. So I'm going to let that sink in. I want you to really, really think about that the next time you're getting ready to have a conversation. And you're thinking it's going to be difficult and it's going to be uncomfortable and you're not sure how it's going. So tune in to how are you feeling on the whole thing? Why are you feeling what you're feeling? That's that emotional intelligence, man. You know, why? What is it about you? Okay, think about you. Then create a plan for communication. Pick your words. Pick the top 3 things that you want to talk about. Create a communication plan. Understand that there are different perspectives and that at the end of the day, there's an outcome that you want. What is that outcome? When you put that all together, you can navigate. You can navigate with more confidence and have the conversation that may seem difficult now, but when it's all done, you're like, I got this. Got this. All right, so that's a wrap for today. I hope that you gained one small insight to help you navigate your next difficult conversation. Before we sign off for Breaking Bad Communication Podcast, I ask you this. Do you know somebody who would benefit from this conversation? Could use this tool? So post this, share this, subscribe here. I love having friends and subscribers or stalkers, whatever you want to look at. So please share this. I appreciate you. I appreciate you joining and spending time with me. And until next time, speak your truth, own your worth, and keep breaking the bad habits of communication. Giddy up.